Hello and welcome to another X-Ray Tech video. Today we're going to be talking about putting your Google Calendar events into a Google Sheet. Now, this is a question we get pretty often. People like to see their calendar data into a spreadsheet and maybe do some analysis on it, but there are a couple different ways to solve this problem. And in this video, we're going to cover both the requests that we get, right? How can we put Google Calendar events into Google Sheets? We'll show you. But also add a couple caveats, some problems that you'll probably run into trying to do it in that way, and also provide a solution that is 1,000 times easier than trying to set up 3 or 4 different automations to connect your Google Calendar to a spreadsheet. So let's get into it. Here on the Google Sheet, we have our event name, we have a start time, we have an end time, we have an organization name, and we have an attendee's email. So we head over to Zapier, we pick Google Calendar, and we say the new event is the trigger. So anytime there's a new event that hits this specific Google Calendar, in this case, our good friend Matt, and we select a specific calendar, right? Matt's personal calendar, not his out of office or not his holiday calendar, right? We'll make a test. And in this test, we get a whole bunch of test data. So we know the time zone, we know the summary, the title, the status, right? If it was confirmed or not. And now we can just dump this data into Google Sheets. So we would create a new spreadsheet row and again, select our account and select all of the information associated with these accounts. All right, so here we go. Google Drive. Now we're gonna grab that specific spreadsheet ID. You could have picked it from the drop-down, but it's easier having the ID sometimes. So now we're gonna add the event name, right? Adding in all of these variables that we grabbed from our triggering event. Attendee email, it's all the way down at the bottom there. They really make it easy for you. And we'll continue and we'll test and review. So now you can see that in Google Sheets, that event actually showed up, right? We created a row here in Google Sheets. You can see that we just changed the date format just to make it a little bit more easy to read, and just took out the bold there. So it looks a little bit nicer. That's how you get every single new event in your Google Calendar to show up in Google Sheets. Now, what happens if you change the event? What happens if you move the event? What happens if you delete the event, right? These are all other automations you would need to build that would get pretty gnarly to find the event, to update the event in Google Sheets, modify it, delete it. Really, the question that I would ask you to ask yourself is, why do you need Google Calendar data in Google Sheets, right? Why do you need that information in Sheets? So I promised a solution at the beginning of this video, and here I will show you. So this is a tool called Airtable, and Airtable works very similarly to Google Sheets and at the same time very differently. You can see that there's columns here, and all of these columns actually have IDs, so we can move them around at any time. If you do that in Google Sheets, the automation that we just made would break. So I'm gonna go down here to just click that add button, and then I'm gonna go to more, and then I'm gonna click on Google Calendar. So Google Calendar has a dedicated integration with Airtable. So if I click on my Google Calendar account, I can select my individual calendar. I'll just say Tom, right? Date range that I wanna sync. I can now control what window of time I want to be pulling in to this new table. So for now, I'll just do this week, right? We'll start on the 18th and we'll do it until Friday. And we hit next here, and we're gonna say all fields in the source and fields added in the future, right? Create table, and boom, here are all of my Google Calendar events from this week, 87 events. I see that immediately, right? And not only that, I can then click on any of these and immediately be taken to that event inside of Google Calendar. Now, my calendar is pretty darn scary, so I don't need to dig into any of that stuff right now. But look at all of these data fields that we get. We get an event ID, we get a Hangouts link or event link. Last time this event was updated, when the event was created, who the attendees are, the description, the location, right? And if I go to technician stand-up here, right? And this technician time, X-Ray Tech has X-Ray technicians, and this is a daily stand-up that we have here. So if I change this and I add, we'll say robots at X-Ray to the event, and I'll say just this event, we don't need to send that. And then I come back here, our attendees to this meeting, if I didn't already miss it, here, I'll pop this open. The attendees on this meeting, we do not see robots yet. The synchronization that happens here happens every so often. In 10 minutes, this would update here. For the sake of the tutorial, I am just going to click on Sync Now. And when I click on Sync Now, keep an eye on this cell right here. This cell is going to be highlighted green, and you're going to see that it's been modified. So we're going to sync this, got highlighted green, and now if we open this up, you can see that robots was added right there. So you can also do one other thing with this integration, and this is brand new. You can actually add multiple Google Calendars here to be able to have multiple Google Calendars in the same Airtable base that are all synchronized for you. So if I just keep adding some people here, and you can see on the right the source. So Airtable automatically added this other column called Sync Source. It has Tom Nasser, Mark is here, and now we have Vazul added to the sync as well. And now we have 192 records here for all of the calendar events that the three of us have this week. My best guess would be that it would take at least 3 automations per person to do this in Zapier exclusively. Again, this comes back to using the right tool for the right job. If you're trying to get Google Calendar data out of Google Calendar and start to do some summing, some grouping, some visualization, some analysis, Airtable is going to be a way better tool to do that than Google Sheets. And it's going to be way more responsive in real time than setting up 3 automations per person to be able to create a new record when an event gets created, update a record when an update happens to a calendar event, and delete it when it gets deleted. So it's a really, really neat integration that Google Calendar has inside of Airtable, and it should save you an enormous amount of time if all you want to do is visualize all of the events that you have for a certain calendar, a certain person, or certain event type within a certain time frame. You just have a lot more flexibility doing this inside of Airtable, and you also get that data a whole heck of a lot faster. So I hope this tutorial has been helpful. I hope you see new possibilities of ways that you can use your calendar. We use Calendar, Google Calendar, and this Airtable synchronization every single day. It is the basis of how we do time tracking here at X-Ray, and it can be enormously useful for analyzing how you spend your time too. If there's any other things that you would like us to cover here on the show, don't be afraid to ask. Always happy to do a tutorial like this, showing an answer to your question and hopefully something that could help you out a little bit more too. As always, links and resources are in the description down below, and don't forget, keep the flow.